Hello and welcome back. I think I forgot to mention in the last video that this is a series of mental models which I'll be doing. And since there are many, I'll make a separate video for each of them. Mental models are basically well thought out shortcuts for decision making. Our brain actually hates making decisions regularly. And if you make too many decisions in your day, you'll make a few good ones, but you'll ultimately end up with a fair amount of mediocre ones. Applying mental models can help us save time, effort, and energy and help us see patterns which we might not generally see. This sort of act as a mental checklist for making our decisions. You would ideally like to have a lattice work of mental models in your head, which then you can apply to a specific situation when it arises. And you can also avoid making the wrong type of decisions with the help of mental models. Today, the model I want to talk about is much more of a decision making heuristic, but in my mind, I've classified it as a mental model because I find it using very often. This decision making heuristic has come from Naval Ravikant. He has also popularized it on Twitter. The heuristic basically says if you can't decide, the answer is no. Now, you can say this is very vague advice, and sure it is. And the context here is really, really important. When you are making big decisions in your life that will have huge consequences, whether good or bad depending, then you should try and not hurry the decision. Don't make that decision as fast as possible, and you should take your time until you figure out what type of decision you want to go ahead with. You should take things slow. You should increase your time you spend on that decision, and until you figure it out, you should not move forward with a single decision. In most cases, if you cannot decide at that moment, the answer is no. When we are making long term life decisions, we should be able to speak about them with a degree of certainty. And if we are not sure about it, it is generally not the right thing to put all your effort and energy into something which you are not 100% sure of. And let me explain why I say this. The reason this is true because we live in the age of infinite leverage and infinite opportunities. And since there are infinite opportunities, they will not all be the same. Some will have heavier weight than the others. There are good, bad, mediocre, and exceptional opportunities. And a lot of the times it gets very blurry to figure out which ones are which. And we often rush to grab that opportunity without even realizing that if we actually want it or not. This model is especially helpful when we are young because our decision making is not that strong at the moment. It's not as fine as we get older, and it's only fair because we haven't seen the world enough yet. We often make long-term commitments for 5, 10, and 15 years or even a lifetime without putting adequate thought into it and just commit ourselves to that task. This heuristic should mostly be applied for making long-term decisions. For example, the decisions that will have consequences far out in the future, maybe after 10 years, maybe after 15 years, or even throughout your lifetime. You should use this heuristic for very, very important decisions. An example can be, should I get into this job? If you're trying to apply for a job and you're going to be there for 5, 10, and 15 years, you should figure out what you want to do. Do you enjoy that job? Do you enjoy the culture? You need to figure out if you want to stay there for 10, 15 years, because throughout your job, your skills will compound, your effort will compound. And if you're starting at the wrong place, if you are not sure that this is the right job for me, you're actually not working with compounding. So you should really, really figure out that if you want to do this job or not, because you're going to be doing it for 5, 10, 15 years. And if you are at the wrong job, not the greatest experience. You can use this heuristic for moving to another city. For example, if you're in a small town, you should decide that if you should stay there or not. If you're trying to move to a new city like Mumbai, if you're trying to move to Delhi, you should figure out that you really want to live there for the rest of your life. Is it 100% yes? If you're asking yourself, should I move to Mumbai? And if the answer is not 100% yes, then you should not take that decision at that moment. Maybe because you're not sure what you want with your life. You should think really hard about which city you move in because it will actually change your trajectory. You'll meet the people, you'll meet the surrounding. There's this essay by Paul Graham, which is very, very interesting essay. It's called Cities and Ambition. And he talks about how every city has a message. For example, Mumbai gives a certain message, or New York or LA gives a certain message, San Francisco gives a certain message, or Tokyo gives a certain message. So you need to figure out what the message that city is speaking, and then figure out, does that message resonate with you? Does that message resonate with your goals? Do you really want to move to that city, or you are just trying to escape your own city? Again, if the answer is not 100% yes, you should not take that move. In some cases, you can take that move. You're trying to take a risk, you're trying to take a bold decision. For example, if you want to become an actor, if you want to become a musician, the right thing is to move to a bigger city because the whole infrastructure is there. All the actors are there, all the directors are there, all the movies are being made there. You can also use this heuristic on deciding if you should marry a certain person. You are unsure about that person, you should not go ahead with the decision because it is now or forever. You ideally marry only once. You can use this heuristic to partner up with a person for your startup. Let's say you're trying to start a startup and you're looking for a person to partner with. You're looking for a co-founder because you're going to be starting that company and that is a long journey. You're not sure that this is the right person. You should not pick that co-founder. You would rather go alone in that journey. If you are confused as to should I get this job or should I marry this person, the answer is usually no, because there are so many opportunities that you don't even know of yet. For example, you're 25 years old and you'll reach 35 years old. During that 10 years, you'll find infinite opportunities that you don't even know exist yet. You're just unaware of it. And taking a long term decision that might have long term consequences without actually figuring out your options is not the right decision, in my opinion. You're living this in this modern economy with tons of options. So you can take your time, you can figure out your path. You don't have to necessarily pick a choice right now at 21 or 22. You can still take your time. Personally, I'll share my story. I was also confused for a long time about pursuing music as a career or doing my family business or doing something else. But then I gradually realized that the thing that I'm most interested in is something else, which is trying to research companies, which is trying to find mispriced opportunities in the market, which is value investing. I genuinely enjoy that thing. I don't know if I will make a career out of it, but if you were to ask me to make a career out of one thing right now, I think that would be the thing. And that is how I can decide that the answer for me is that thing. I also love this content creation thing, which I'm enjoying, and that is why I'm doing it. With music, I found myself forcing things, forcing practicing, forcing learning skills, and forcing a lot of things. And then I realized that this is not my ultimate passion. And when I asked myself that would I be satisfied if I were to do music for the rest of the life, the answer wasn't an instant yes. It wasn't a hell yes. And so in that way, I figured out that if I can't decide, the answer is actually no. I think with investing, it was yes. I didn't have to ask myself 10 times that do I want to do this, do I want to do that. Inherently, I think I know that the answer is this. I think Jeff Bezos once said it, and he's absolutely right that we don't choose our passion chooses us. And you won't see it coming. You'll realize it only in hindsight. You can only connect the dots looking backwards and not forwards. But also, you'll never be 100% sure about making any decision. But you will intuitively know it. You'll know that this is the decision that I want to go with. And intuition is a very, very powerful thing. I think this whole heuristic, if you can't decide the answer is no, is sort of based on intuition as well. Because your heart and your mind is not completely in that direction, because they are both not convinced completely, and that is the reason that you can't decide. You have this fear in your mind that there might be other opportunities that are better, and that is why you're not committing to it completely. And once you see that, you'll sort a lot of things out. You'll get that feeling that yes, this is the job I want, this is the person I want to be with, or this is the city I want to move in. If you're not completely sure, there are clouds of doubt, I think you should slow things down at that moment, because you're dealing with complex things here, and you should take your time to make that decision. You should let it flow. You should not force that decision. You can force small decisions, but you can't force big decisions. You can take your time. As I said, there are thousands of opportunities. You don't have to make that huge decision today. You don't have to live with the burden of making a decision today. In fact, you can tell yourself that this is not the right thing for me. I will take my time and I will make the decision as time progresses. It can take days, months, weeks, and I think up to 1 to 3 years to make the long term decisions. You can even take 5 years. You don't necessarily have to make it now. Because as I said, you are dealing with long term consequences. You might not even know the consequence that is going to come up in the future. It's either hell yes or no. The clarity will come, I'm pretty sure. Everyone eventually figures out what they want to do. It's just that you need to wait for the right thing and go all in on that thing. But the important thing is to not find yourself committing to wrong things. I've personally made so many decisions with this heuristic, and this heuristic has saved me so much time, effort, energy, because I just simply take a big task or a big decision in my life, which is actually long term, and ask myself, should I be doing this for the rest of my life? Should I be doing this for the long term? If the answer is not an instant yes or intuitively yes, I don't do it. However, one thing that you need to remember is don't use it for small tasks. Example, should I go and work out today? Should I be following my diet? Of course, that would be a silly practice. Of course, you should discharge your duties faithfully, and what you are supposed to do, you should do. This is not for small tasks. This is for the thing that is long term, that is very crucial. So, for these small tasks, if you're using this heuristic, you're just trying to avoid the hard work. This is just your brain telling you to avoid the hard work. Use this for irreversible decisions. Use this for decisions that have a huge impact in your life. Use this for decisions that you might actually think can change trajectory of your life, because a lot of decisions actually do. Try and apply this mental model in your day-to-day life. Find out for yourself that if this makes you a better decision maker, and let me know in the comments if you find this video helpful. Thank you and see you in the next video.